Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor and I help people navigate through their awakening process. And this video is going to share with you what I found to be, at least for me, 3 keys to transitioning out of the hermit phase of awakening. I made a video very recently that talked all about this hermit phase of awakening, which you can watch if you want to learn more about that. But essentially the hermit phase is where you detach from normal society. You sort of find your friends dropping off. A lot of it just involves a lot of introspection, heavy ascension symptoms. You just feel like you want to kind of take a leave of absence from the world for a while and collect yourself. But there of course comes a point where the inner work has been done to enough of an extent to where you feel it is perhaps time to get yourself out there and start sharing, just re-entering the world essentially. And this whole other video I did recently talked all about the nature of the hermit phase and asked you if you are ready to move on. And based on the comments, a lot of you are like, yes, I'm in the hermit phase, I'm ready to move on, but how? So that's what this video is going to be about. How I was able anyway to move on from this hermit phase. So number 1 is letting go of all that is attempting to leave your life. And you know what that is. At least for me, there were many things that I knew were no longer resonating, no longer applicable, and downright weighing me down vibrationally and even literally in my life that I clung to because I was nervous about the notion, the idea of letting them go. A lot of times there are things that you have a deep yet strong sense that they should be on the way out and it's a little bit long overdue, but you can't understand logically why. You would wonder, why does this have to go? This isn't a big problem as far as I can see. And yet I'm feeling strongly guided to let it go. And I have no idea why. And some things you could even probably imagine why it would be good to let go, but you're still afraid to. Maybe it's a relationship or a job or something big that you're just not yet comfortable enough trusting your intuition to make such a life-changing and bold and insane move that you feel very strongly again that it's time to make. But it's those things. It's like we're on this, I'm trying to think of a good analogy here. I'm on this train essentially, and there comes a point where if you want to keep going forward, we're going uphill so much, we're ascending so much that we got to lighten the load. You're not going to get more clarity of what's up ahead or what to do because you're presently being weighed down by a bunch of shit you got to let go of and drop off. And as you do this though, the train will jump and you'll move, and then you'll be given new ideas, new insights, a lot of times clarity as to why those things had to go in the first place, and you'll say, oh wow, thank goodness I let those go, because now as the scene has changed, as I have ascended even more fully, I can see where those weighed me down, and now in absence of those, here are these awesome ideas, these golden opportunities. Your life will start to rearrange itself as you move forward, but you must lighten your load. And you all know what things in your life are weighing you down. Number 2 is to courageously and boldly take action in the direction of becoming the person you want to be, the person you know yourself to be. For me, I wanted to be on YouTube. I wanted to reach millions of people, and I wanted to just get up there and talk and share the wisdom I gained from my own personal experience and be a living example of someone who has transcended a lot of their baggage and created for themselves a very good life. And I wanted to help people on this deep spiritual level. So it's like, okay, well, that's not just going to happen overnight, obviously. At the time, I was not very healthy. I had a lot of my own issues I was working through. I wasn't making any YouTube videos. I wasn't doing anything that had anything to do with who I really the future projection, who I imagine myself eventually becoming. I wasn't doing, my day-to-day actions, my thoughts, my habits were not in alignment with who that person is that I know myself to be, and again, believed and had faith that I would have somehow eventually become. It's that faith that will somehow eventually become that can get in the way, because that sort of puts it into the future. I had to really ground that person and say, okay, you want to be on YouTube, you want to reach a lot of people, you want to be a good example, a coach. Well, there's a lot of stuff you got to do. You got to, I had to change my habits, change my mindset, change my diet, change where I lived, change my job. I had to change everything about myself to bring into actual present fruition who I wanted to be. And it doesn't have to be all overnight. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. You don't have to be as ready as you think you need to be. You just have to start taking action towards that. Like, okay, this future version of myself, well, he's not, I don't even claim to be a teacher so much. It's just I share things to help people. Well, someone who does that has to have their own shit together. So maybe you can become real balanced, Victor, and eliminate some bad habits that you have that are preventing you from being the next best version of yourself, and maybe incorporate this or that, read a little more, meditate a little more, let go of these friends who are weighing you down, get out of this situation which no longer has anything to do with who you want to be. It's all of that. Again, it's not an overnight process, but you got to start the process. You got to get the ball rolling, and once you do, it's not smooth. I'm not going to tell you it's smooth, but it's sort of, there's a momentum that builds, and you're constantly imbued with validation that you're doing the right thing. You are, when you make a right move or let go of something that doesn't need to be there, you're always sort of reminded by the universe or yourself that that was a good move, dude. Even though you don't see where you're going, you can feel that it's right. There's a sense of reconnection with your life flow. But when you resist, when you cling, you sort of allow your life path to sort of drift away, and you gotta kind of catch up to it. But that's real easy. It's instant. It's just that stress, the stress of that distancing from who you know yourself to be and who you're actually acting like in this moment is what causes that like crazy feeling of like, wow, something's not right. But that's very easily mendable by, again, doing what you already know you should be doing, basically. Get that ball rolling. For me, what I wanted to kind of paint this picture a little bit to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, just a small example of this recent move. This is an ongoing process, if you guys haven't realized. This last big move of mine was to move and transition from living in Michigan and moved to California, where I am now. And at the time, I didn't know how that would possibly happen. I had no income. I was going into debt, and yet I felt like I got to get to California somehow, in a very expensive place to live. How the hell is that going to happen? So what I started doing, me and my wife, we started sort of cleaning and gutting the cupboards and going through our drawers and decluttering, and almost acting as if we were going to eventually sell the house, even though at that time we had no real solidarity about, yeah, we're going to sell the house soon. It was just, we started doing things that we suspected are in relation to this next thing that was being asked of us by ourselves or the universe. And in doing so, even though it didn't make sense, even though there was no certainty, it felt right. It felt like exciting to be going through this. It really felt like, it felt synchronistic. It felt appropriate. I felt back in my flow. And it's just about taking the step after step after step, that what you perceive to be will keep you in that flow. And before you know it, your higher self will weave you through this winding path, and you'll be blown away when you look back and say, oh my God, all I was doing is following this next step and the next step and the next step that oftentimes seemed incoherent, and yet here I am. I have arrived, and I can look back and in amazement. And number 3 is to just consistently rely on your inner guidance and to trust what it tells you to do, and expect the advice to oftentimes make absolutely no sense. But if you can just, it's so hard, and a lot of the moves we're guided to make are so counterintuitive in the sense that they just seem like they're just the stupidest thing you could ever freaking do, somehow they work out. Oftentimes not in like a magical sense, but in a very unexpected way. It somehow always just works out. And you can look back and see the actual efficiency of what you perceive to be a bunch of tangents and zigs and zags is actually the straightest freaking line from where you are now to where you really want to go. Your higher self just uses a much different, vastly different way of guiding you through life. And it takes our mind a lot of getting used to it because it's basically been conditioned to operate in a very linear, step-by-step, logical, progressive manner, but that is not how spirit works. Spirit is like that fire energy. It will bulldoze whatever's in its path, knowing that something that lies up ahead, even though you can't see it yet, is going to be there at the right exact perfect timing to prevent you from experiencing a lot of these tragedies that you think might happen if you were to do and heed the crazy advice of your spirit. But the only way to really learn to trust that, the only way to prove that to your physical mind is to just take those initial jumps. And no one can do that for you but you. And it's okay if you're not ready in this exact moment watching this video, but work yourself up to it because that's what needs to get done and you already know that. So that's how you transition out of the hermit phase. Those are the 3 keys that worked for me. Just because you have those 3 keys, it does not minimize the challenge that might mean to you, and I understand that fully, and I wish you nothing but the best with this stage of your awakening. For me, it was the scariest and yet the most rewarding, and I experienced the most growth, and it's just really helped solidify what I've known all along, which is that you should really trust your intuition because it does know what's best for you. It's finally has proven itself to me in a way that I can't even begin to express into words accurately because it's just so amazing. And I know all of what I feel now, you will all feel, and that is my hope for you. And again, I wish you well with this process. You are loved, you are supported. I'm here for you every single day. You can expect a new video. Good luck. Peace.